Do you want proof that gun control doesn't work? Then you're going to want to watch this episode of Guns and Gadgets. Hey everybody, welcome back to Guns and Gadgets, the premier source for Second Amendment news. Thank you for all of your support over the years. This is year 8 for the channel. It's amazing when I hear myself say that, because I never thought this would be a thing. But thank you for making this happen. Today is Monday. It's the Monday Morning Grind, brought to us as always by Blackout Coffee. Thank you also for your support of Blackout Coffee. Whether you like your coffee ground or whole bean in a bag, or you like loose leaf tea, or you like hot chocolate, or if you like K-Cups, we got you covered there as well. Blackout Coffee is the place to be. Check us out down below, blackoutcoffee.com/GNG, and you can always use code GNG10 to save 10% off your order. Links down below and in the pinned comment. Let's get into this one. So we all know, I'm preaching to the choir, we all know that gun control is people control, and it does absolutely nothing to save lives or to stop criminals from doing just that, from not following, not observing the law, because criminals are always going to be criminals. That's part of the name, that's part of the definition. Well, there was a study here by American University. When I say here, I mean here in Massachusetts. They actually studied the state and the new gun control measures that were put in by Massachusetts to include universal background checks and changing the licensing scheme, making it more stringent, harder to get. And I'll talk about that here in a minute. Now, what this study found, in part, and we'll get into it a little here, we'll dive into it a little, but the gun control that was put in by Massachusetts, that is the model for the national gun control that's being pitched. Same with California. We're kind of neck and neck with California. We always try to one-up each other as far as being the most tyrannical. Well, this study proves, now it's proven, that these policies made little to no difference at all in reducing or in the amount of violent crime. Shocker, I know. Now, Massachusetts, here in New England, 6 states in New England, guys and gals, for those who don't live here. I know it's kind of weird when you hear these terms. So in New England, there are 6 states here. And we in Massachusetts have the most stringent gun control there is in all of the 6 states. Coincidentally, we have the highest amount of violent crime in the states because we go the softest on our criminals too. It goes hand in hand, but nobody else can see that other than the people who love freedom, and I guess maybe it's just me. Now, I'll put a link below so that you can see this research. However, I'm going to tell you in advance, you have to pay to read the whole damn thing. So if you want to read it, you can pay to have a membership at this place that the link goes to. If not, know that among disproving that gun control will save lives, like they always say, this will save lives. No, it doesn't change anything, if anything at all. But it's also a ploy. It's a play to get more funding and to have more backing to research gun violence as a health epidemic. You know, it's thinly veiled. That's exactly what it is. They want to be able to study this more to see just how bad it is. Well, we already have things called crime stats, and they actually did look at some crime stats from the FBI, as well as licensing information from the Massachusetts Firearms Record Bureau. They keep track of, we call them LTCs here, licenses to carry. They keep track of how many applicants, how many were issued, how many there are to active people who are still alive. How many were denied, whether it was a denial based off of statutory issues, laws, or here in Massachusetts we have a suitability clause, where even if you pass all the hoops, have all the hoops, all the check marks are checked, and you should be getting your license to carry here, there's still a way for the state, or for the even more restrictive, the local chief of police to deny you your license to carry based off of a suitability clause, that you're not suitable for some reason that they know about and they could point to. Again, don't see that anywhere in the United States Constitution or the Bill of Rights, specifically the Second Amendment or the Due Process Clause. But here we have in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, that's a thing. Now, Massachusetts passed the universal background checks in part, as they claim, to limit or even stop the transactions at gun shows, and more importantly, the real reason was to stop private sales. So what a universal background check is, for those who say, you know, we should have background checks. We already have them. Universal background checks, main thing is a registry, and 1A or 1B, you want to call them. 1A is a registry. 1B is it eliminates the person-to-person transaction, because you would have to take the buyer and the seller would take this firearm to an FFL where they would facilitate the sale using the NICS background check system. People would have to pay for that, of course, and that is one of the main focuses of a universal background check. I also mentioned that Massachusetts had changed its licensing scheme. The previous governor, Deval Patrick, he changed things on the way out of the door on his last term, where now if you had a super misdemeanor, meaning a misdemeanor that could potentially have a sentence of more than 2 years, well, that would be a disqualifier. It would make you prohibited, and because they report that to the feds, and it would make you federally prohibited. And what more people have been caught up on in that area are OUIs, and it went back retroactive. So if you were found guilty of an operating under the influence of alcohol, I know some states call it DWI, we call it OUI, then you would be federally prohibited, because that's a longer than 2 year potential sentence. You might not have served 1 day, but potentially could do 2.5. Now you're restricted from ever owning a firearm. So I mentioned this study used stats from the Firearms Record Bureau in Massachusetts, as well as the FBI crime stats, and they looked at the years from 2006 to 2016. They looked at several things. Specifically, they were looking at the percentage of denied applications for licenses to carry here in Massachusetts, the percentage of unsuitability issues, or people who were denied because they were found unsuitable, and a percentage of people who were denied statutorily, meaning they were federally prohibited. They check those boxes off and they fall into one of those categories. In that area, they were looking for people who were denied because of a criminal record, documented mental health problems. Now, the shocking part, even for somebody who's lived here for 97% of his life, only 1 to 5% of the adults in Massachusetts, the adult residents in Massachusetts, have the license to carry firearms. That is how your state, in any state, becomes anti-gun. That is the formula right there. They make the permits, right? They make you jump through hoops. They make them harder to get each time they keep adding additions to the law. Well, we're gonna have it affect these people this time. If anybody had an OUI in the last 15 years, then they shouldn't be able to drive if they were found guilty of it, if they were convicted. Even if they would just have fallen asleep drunk on the side of the road and the keys were in the ignition in Massachusetts, that's an OUI. So it's not like they were driving drunk and railroaded 15 kids and hit a bus full of nuns. It's very easy to trigger that clause in Massachusetts. So every time they do something to make people safer, they're actually shrinking the amount of people that can obtain these golden permits, a la what California has been caught lately in certain counties. Now only 1 to 5% of this frickin' state has licenses to carry. That's the formula. Now, and I referenced that the study found that these new gun control methods made no changes. In fact, the new gun control measures, the quote is, made no consistent effect on reducing murder, manslaughter, aggravated assault, robbery, or rape. In fact, some of those numbers went up. They also found that there was a 1% increase in the amount of people who were denied their license to carry after these, universal background check and, make it harder to get your licenses. Another additional 1% of people were denied their right to keep and bear arms for self-defense, because the government says you can't do that anymore. Another thing that this study said that just was actually pretty disturbing was that, yes, Massachusetts, your law changes have not really made a big difference. So you should look at how you're implementing them and change the way you implement them so you can screw more people. And that was the worst part for me reading it. I live here in Neverland, where unicorns and rainbows and the anti-gun fairy like to dance around all over Beacon Hill in Boston. And what they're looking for is more gun control. And if I sat here, and it'll be another video, but if I told you the law or the bills that are coming forward out of Beacon Hill for the 2022 session in order to further restrict firearms in Massachusetts, it would probably make you cry with laughter if you don't live here, because they're coming after more stuff. They never are satisfied. It's always a little bit more. And that's why I do this channel, so that you all can be aware of what's happening in other states, so that you can be aware and stop it from happening in your state. And with that, I ask you to please thumbs up the video if you get anything out of this and share it with like-minded folk. Because what happens here in Massachusetts will happen in California, and what happens in California will happen in New York and New Jersey, and it'll start to trickle down, especially now with all this balkanization going on where people are moving and leaving big voids to fill. It's going to be filled with their type of people. So in wrapping this up, this study proves that Massachusetts added more gun control, made it harder for the people to get these licenses to carry, and crime went up, and it's done nothing to take criminals off the street, and you need to tweak it so you can affect more people and have less permits in your state. That about wraps it up. Pay attention to what's going on, and I thank you for supporting this channel and being in my corner for so many years. I can't believe 8 years. That's amazing. And I thank you, each and every single one of you, because you've made it possible. So again, check out Blackout Coffee. We have all kinds of flavors of teas and hot chocolates and coffees. So you'll find something that's right for you. And until we see each other again, be safe, stay vigilant, and carry a gun to keep you, your friends, your family safe. I'll see you on the next one. Take care.